So it's an elevated Filet-O-Fish, but with an Asian twist. G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Sam's Home Kitchen, where I bring to you budget-friendly recipes with sustainability in mind. It is a bit of a late afternoon right now, and it's beautiful golden hour, one of my favorite moments during the day. And I'm just prepping for dinner. I've been craving fish burger. Think about Filet-O-Fish. It's a crunchy and meaty fish right in the middle, but being held together by top and bottom really soft buns. And I just started thinking, how can I achieve that at home unless you slap in a lot of butter into the bun? Like usually the homemade kind of bread roll can be a little bit tougher. So I thought, why not use a different approach? When I think about soft bun, that kind of just takes my mind to like steamed bun, like those white and fluffy buns. So that's why I want to experiment with today's video. Classic British fish and chips, golden crispy batter fish. Think about texture, combining that with a white fluffy Asian kind of steam bun, and putting those two together will make the magic happen. So that's what I want to do today. That's enough talking, and let's get cooking. To kick off today's fish burger, we got the ingredients for the buns, fish and tartar sauce listed separately here. For fish, we're using frozen Basa to make sure that the recipe is nice and affordable.
Alright, so in the current living crisis, keeping the food costs down is absolutely critical just to keep afloat, and Basa has been my best friend for a long time. $9 a kilo. The flavor is absolutely neutral. You can do so much with it. It's just an all-round champion, and I'll show you how to turn frozen fillet into usable condition in about 10-15 minutes.
First thing on the list, we are going to deal with our frozen Basa. I'm making burger for 2 tonight. Just 1 fillet is plenty for 2 burgers. Grab a large container for the frozen fillet. Next, we're using a scale to weigh out the water and salt. We want to defrost and brine the fish at the same time in a 2% solution. Brine here has 2 purposes. It speeds up the defrosting process and firms up the fish at the same time. So weigh out just enough water to cover the fish. My container is a tad small, so I'm accounting for the fish to soften and drop in the water later on. Next, add in 2% weight of the water in salt. So that is 2 grams of salt every 100 grams of water. After that's done, give the water and salt a quick stir to dissolve.
Now saltwater solution is done, we're going to put it aside and get working on our buns.
To make 2 buns, I'm measuring out 75 grams of flour each, so that is 150 grams for 2. 4 grams of yeast. To keep the yeast fresh, put it back in the freezer as soon as we're done. 4 grams of salt. And then we give all of the dry ingredients a good mixy mix to combine.
So in order to activate our yeast, we want like a lukewarm water, and I find the trick really is to turn the kettle on for about 5-10 seconds and just dip your finger in. As long as it's not too hot to touch but also still warm, then we're good to go.
Water in. We want a 60% hydration dough, so that is 150 by 0.6, that gives us 90 grams. To keep the bun soft, we need some fat content.
What did you just say to me?
No, don't read into that line too much. Here, I'm adding in 10 grams of neutral oil. Once that's all done, get our fingers in and get mixing. First step of mixing is always to combine all ingredients together, so no flour is left on dry and no water is left on wet.
That's true.
You know what I mean. Once we get a sloppy and shaggy kind of dough, we can put some more pressure in and start forming it into a rough dough. It's going to look messy, it's going to look uneven, but just trust in the process. If you follow the flour ratio, you got nothing to worry about. Clean out the fingers and the bench a bit.
So once our dough is roughly come together, rather than forcing it, we're just going to give it some time. Give it about 10-15 minutes for the moisture and water to do its trick. Once they start to come together, it will just be so much easier to work with.
After about 15 minutes rest time, we knead the dough until smooth. Set the dough aside and we let it ferment and rise while we work on the tartar sauce. Start with our onion. I got a half onion chilling in the fridge, no pun intended. So I'm going to use that. Outer skin off. Let the fingers guide the knife to make some thin cuts going about halfway through the onion. Turn the onion 90 degrees and dice the onion into little cubes. Instead of using pickles for the tartar sauce, I have some kimchi I made a while back, and I thought, why not use it and just to have some fun? It has some crunch and acidity that pickles give, so I thought it would be a really good replacement. I got about a couple spoons worth of kimchi, and here's a trick for you. Rather than chopping it on a chopping board and leaving a red stain for the next few days, you can use the scissors and just cut the kimchi in the bowl directly to minimize the mess. Kimchi's all chopped up, we get the onions in, a spoon of sour cream, and a couple of spoons of homemade mayo to loosen it up. If you don't have any mayo, you can just use full sour cream instead. When cooking, always make sure you taste to season and season to taste.
The flavor is so interesting. Not as acidic compared to pickles, but the kimchi funk and the umami really makes it really interesting. I think I'm gonna add in a little bit more herbs to kind of spice it up a little bit.
After some dry deals, and that is our kimchi tartar sauce all good to go. So after about 30 minutes, we can see the dough has risen and expanded. Give it a quick tidy up. I then portion it up into two. As you expected, I use a scale to be fair and square, so no one's burger is being shortchanged tonight. Now we have our two portions. We want to grab each portion and do a bit of a folding to the bun. Rotate and stretch the edges of the dough and fold them into the center to create some tension in the dough. We'll do the same for the other dough. Pinch the seams up nice and tight and flip it over. You can use a dough scraper to help round up and shape the dough. Next, grab some baking paper or parchment paper. Measure out big enough pieces for the dough to sit on. Make sure we leave enough space for the dough to expand as well. Drizzle a couple of drops of oil to prevent them from sticking. Spread the oil out and bun some. We'll set them aside for the second rise. Notice here that we're not using any plastic wraps. All we're trying to do is to prevent the dough from drying out. Our mixing bowl can do that just fine. So after about 30 minutes proofing time, the buns have risen back up.
Our buns are nice and popped up now, but instead of baking, I'm going to steam it so it stays nice and soft.
Grab a big pot and load it up with some water for steaming. On the stove on medium to high heat until boil. We can now transfer the buns into a steaming basket to get them all ready to be cooked.
Alright, so while the water is heating up to steam our buns, we're going to use the same bowl. That's right, the same bowl, so we reduce the dishes that we need to do. Coat our fish and then make a batter.
Roughly 50 grams of flour for 2 half pieces of fillet. Sprinkle of salt, about 5 grams. Next, to dry the fish, we use a cloth kitchen towel instead of using single-use paper towel. The fish should be defrosted and soft now. Onto the towel, we pat dry the liquid off the fillet. Cut the fillet in half the short way. And then we coat the cut up fillet with the flour salt mixture that we just made. This step is crucial to get the wet batter to stick the fish better. When frying, always remember that wet stick to dry, stick to wet. So batter is going to cling onto the dry flour way better than just the bare fish flesh. Shake off the excess flour. At this moment, my water in the big pot is boiling, so steam basket on, lid on, and drop the heat to low. Get a medium-sized saucepan on medium heat and add in just enough oil to submerge the fish fillet. Back to the workbench, with the left behind flour and salt mixture, add in 3 to 4 grams of baking powder. Mix it well. And then we add in some water bit by bit until we get a snot-ish kind of texture. I'm sorry, I honestly couldn't think of a better way to describe the consistency. Something like this. Optionally, I've got a fair few garlics at home, so I thought, why not mince one up into the batter? To know if the oil is ready, stick a wooden or bamboo chopstick in. If it rapidly bubbles up, it's good to go. Fish in the batter. and then into the frying pan. Given we're kind of shallow frying, be sure to give the fish a few pokes to make sure that it's not stuck to the bottom of the pan. Once it's golden brown like this, flip the fish over to cook the other side. It shouldn't take too long to cook. I say about 2 to 3 minutes each side, or until both sides are golden brown and it's good to come out. Hit it with some salt while it's still hot. At the same time, the buns should be all done. So final assembly time. Before we do that, we need some lettuce to add some freshness. A couple of leaves and cut it into about 1/2 centimeter thick strips. Now, let's put the burger together. Peel the baking paper off. Cut the bun in half. Generous amount of our kimchi tartar sauce. Fish on the bun. Good amount of lettuce. And more tartar sauce because why not? Lid on, and that is a glorious looking bun/burger right there. The cost breakdown is right on the screen here. All in all, one burger costed us $1.12.7 to make. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you save money. Alright, and there we have it. That is our fish burger done right here. As you can tell, it's getting dark. It is dinner time, so I'm going to skip the fluff and then just get into it and let you know how it tastes like. The bun's fluffy, the fish is soft on the inside and crispy on the outside, and the kimchi tartar sauce just gives it a really interesting spin on this recipe. So a bit of an Asian influence, and the soft bun just works so well with the crispy fish. The principle of every single recipe on this channel is to skip the unnecessary steps, unnecessary ingredients, and just keep the ingredients down to basic to save you guys some money. I hope you find the video interesting. I hope you find the video instructive. And definitely give this a go. Kind of an in-between of burger and like a bao bun. And this I consider a success. Alright, thank you so much. If you like the video, give it a like. If you don't, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. I will see you in about 2 weeks. Bye.